Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of The Last of Us Episode 6. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to hit 30k subscribers so I can get approved for Rotten Tomatoes. I really appreciate that help, and share this super competitive show so it help any shares I can get for this video. So now jumping into this review, it's interesting. This episode is a very transitional episode. It is the most transitional episode we've seen of this show yet. So there's a lot of things that have to kind of get done. We have this time jump of 3 months, and we touch base again with Tommy, and we meet his wife, Maria. And what is so weird about this show, and it really has highlighted in this episode, and I felt it a certain amount of times in this show altogether, but for a show that has a slower pace, sometimes it can feel very rushed even though it's slow, and I'm really feeling that with this show. And I think that's a result of how they're planning these episodes. To me is not great. It's just like the vision of how they're going this whole season. It's odd to me because it feels so like it's just following a checklist from the game, and that each episode is its own contained part of the game or chapter of the game, and they're checking it off. And to me, it just doesn't feel as imaginative as it should, translating it to the TV format. And I really felt it in this episode. Having said that, I do think it is a solid episode of television. I don't think there's anything special about that, and that's not going to happen every week. We just had this crazy good episode last week that really delivered, but that part also in the game really delivers. This isn't the most interesting part to me in the game, but there's a lot of important things happening, and that's kind of the case of this episode. There's very important things happening, right? Because Ellie is finding out for the first time about Sarah and what happened with Joel losing his daughter, which is huge, and that she gets this little talk with Maria, but talking about trust, right? And that can she trust Joel, and how important is the people you choose to trust, because they're the ones who can betray you. Very, very good for the show. I really appreciate that writing. I thought that Gabriel Luna was great as Tommy here, because this was really an episode. We've seen him before as Tommy, but we got to kind of sit down with him and get to see him as the part, and I think he really delivered well. I think Pedro Pascal was great, per usual. And I think that there's just parts of this, though, where the pacing felt off to me, where we spent so much time with Tommy and Joel. I really would have liked a little more time with Maria, and even just especially with Maria and Tommy talking, which you'll see a lot happens in the game. Really didn't hear like any of them talking to each other. Just really Maria's thoughts about everything just didn't happen here. That was just kind of thrown away. And I think that was actually necessary. I would have liked to hear that different angle, to especially get to know Tommy a little more, but it feels so rushed in the sense because we're only getting one episode, right? So you meet someone and then you move on, and that's their story. So you're kind of just really banking now on how much we enjoy Joel and Ellie, which I enjoy, but I'm still not in love with it yet. That's just how I feel watching the two together. I'm not in love with it yet, and that's fine. It's still pretty early, it's 6th episode, but there's things that can make that feel better. I feel like they're not doing. And what is tough is there is so many important things that happen this episode, and they do a good job of it, and the relationship building with Joel and Ellie. But because of this 3-month time jump, this finally felt like we really got some time to see them connect and be more close now because of that time jump. But I think when you're doing all this relationship building in a full episode, I was satisfied thinking, okay, we're getting now to the college, and we're getting a big scene, a big final scene. It was such a letdown of a scene compared to the video game, because I'm saying it because the video game, it's a very intense sequence, but it's a more imaginative, thoughtful sequence, where I think if you're going to make a show, go even further in the imagination. You have to kind of one-up it now. That's the point, so it doesn't feel like it's just cut and paste. You can't go down, and I feel like it was going down. It was such a quick scene and bizarre, and felt just weird with him getting stabbed, and then these 4 guys, we don't know what their motivation was at the moment, and then they disappear, right? Ellie just shoots 3 of these guys away, and that's it. And I thought that was just such a, like, not payoff final scene. If you're going to have the big action sequence at the end of a lot of dialogue, heavy dialogue episode, make it deliver, especially in that episode. I mean, there was just, to me, no thought put into the blocking, or how can we extend this action or make a lot of more suspense in that college. They were there for literally like a minute, and it's over, and he's stabbed, and that's boom. again, just pacing problems, I feel like, in this show, and that continues. And it was really, really weird with me for this episode. It just did not sit right with me. Because I feel like if that delivered that final scene, this episode would be a really good episode in my eyes. And to me, it's going to be one that's like, okay, it did what it needed to get done, necessary for the relationship between Joel and Ellie. You have this cliffhanger here with Joel. Is he dead? We're going to find out. And it's something that is going to also have a lot of character growth for Ellie here. And we also get to see how weak Joel is in this episode, which is important, and how much he doesn't even believe in himself. These are important things, but again, I just feel like for a show that is slow and takes a moment to breathe, I still feel like it's not taking a moment to breathe somehow, and it feels rushed, but it feels slow. I just, again, don't feel like it was super well thought out for the season, and it's just hitting a checklist of this happens in the game, we're gonna do that chapter this episode, that chapter that episode. There's not like this imaginative, like, I feel like it needs more courage to try to do a little more different things with it, because it's kind of just hitting the bases for me. And I think that goes to the scenery was really pretty in this episode. It looked beautiful, the exterior scenes, but the cinematography itself is not also imaginative in the show, and it hasn't been. I don't feel like it's helping. I feel like it's making, especially the interior scenes, more just bland, because the camera's not really doing anything. There was some weird choice this episode where it was just shaky cams in moments where you'd probably just have it still, because you're trying to figure out why are they doing the shaky cam in that moment if it's not even that much of an emotional moment. It just keeps cutting to scenes with shaky cams. Very strange decisions to me in that choice with the directing and the cinematography. So it's a lot of nitpicking I'm doing, but I do think it is just the feel I have from watching it, that this is still a solid television episode. There's some good writing by Craig Mazin per usual here. Important stuff that needs to happen. I'm going to get a flood of comments are saying how much everything's so necessary. You just got to be patient. And we just had a crazy episode. I get that. That's exactly what I'm saying in my review. But I still think it's highlighting problems the season as a whole has had with pacing and bizarre choices. And I'm just not like in love with the characters of Joel and Ellie like I was in the video game at the moment. I think that's also something that's kind of hampering my enjoyment for the show, but I still think it was solid as I'm just reviewing it. So I'm going to give this one an 8.3, but I just think the sky could be, there's like a sky that could be reached. It's just not happening. So that's where I feel disappointed. Like, you feel like, just go there. I know there's talented people on the show, talented writers. Just go for it. It feels safe. It feels like they're just hitting a checklist and they're a little scared. That is just my 2 cents. That's what I'm feeling now. I think that's how I can put into words what I'm feeling about this show in general. But let me know what you thought. I read every comment, try to respond as many as I can. And like I said, if you could subscribe, it'll help me in so many ways. I want to hit that 30K by the end of March for Rotten Tomatoes. Just trying. It would help. You don't have to, but I appreciate just you watching. Give a like. Sharing the interview helps as well. And please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. And I'll see you next time.